We have some new emails that are pretty startling in the sense they show collusion between James Comey, Robert Mueller, and the FBI, and Comey's anti-Trump Russia testimony last year before the Senate. You may recall that testimony because he made a big show of saying how he thought the president was a liar. He referenced these memos that he wrote supposedly about his meetings with Donald Trump, and admitted that he leaked at least one of the memos through a friend to the New York Times with the hopes of getting a special counsel appointed. And of course, Mueller was that special counsel. Well, the documents, and we've sued at least twice for documents about this collusion, because there were reports that Mueller and Comey had coordinated on the testimony prior to Comey's testimony last year. And so we wanted to know what was going on. It was pretty outrageous to us that there was any collusion between Comey and Mueller on this anti-Trump testimony, especially since Comey talked about things that ordinarily a senior government official, or a recent senior government official in the case of Comey, because he had been fired by President Trump, he had been talking about things in that testimony that typically you wouldn't be allowed to talk about, especially your conversations with the president, and especially comments on an ongoing criminal investigation. So I guess Mueller let him out there and unleashed him. And the documents we received as a result of 2 FOIA lawsuits, and we began this process almost immediately after the testimony took place. We filed the Freedom of Information Act request initially, one of several, but the first one was filed in August of last year. We had to sue late last year for the documents. We sued again for more information on this collusion issue, plus how the FBI treated Comey and his book pre-publication review, which seemed shady to us. So we had 2 FOIA lawsuits on this collusion issue, and we finally got some documents. And they show friendly, easygoing emails between the FBI and James Comey after he was fired, with the FBI recommending that Comey talk to Mueller about his Senate testimony. So this is the first documentary evidence that the FBI had helped Comey along and got him to talk to the Mueller operation about this anti-Trump Russia testimony. And remember what Comey testified to last year. He says, to me this is outrageous as an FBI director. I asked a friend of mine to share the content of the memo, one of the memos he wrote, with a reporter. Didn't do it myself for a variety of reasons, but I asked him to because I thought that might prompt the appointment of a special counsel. So this guy admits to leaking and takes pride in getting a special counsel appointed as a result of this illegal leak. So the DOJ and the FBI have already said that that leak was unauthorized, and they compared it to WikiLeaks. So it was interesting then to get emails from the FBI showing they were in communication with Comey, I think even the day, maybe 2 days after he was fired by President Trump. As I said on TV the other day, you read these emails, you would have thought they were talking to someone who had just received their 60-year retirement pin or something like that. So the email chain is between Comey and 3 top FBI officials. The FBI Chief of Staff at the time, James Rybicki, then Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. Remember Andrew McCabe? And I don't think he was even Deputy Director at the time, because after Comey was fired, he became Acting Director, and Assistant Director Gregory Bauer. So Comey writes to Rybicki telling him about the fact he has to testify, and he wants to know if he can review documents. He wants to know if there are any institutional prerogatives that the FBI wants him to take into account as he's to testify. And so Rybicki writes back and says that you should talk to Special Counsel Mueller to determine the timing of your testimony. So they're working not only with Mueller on the substance of the testimony, but the timing of it as well. And of course, the Office of General Counsel, this is the lawyer language here, stands ready to discuss with you in consultation with the Department of Justice and the Special Counsel institutional privileges or prerogatives that may be presented by any such testimony. Well, evidently they had 0 institutional privileges or prerogatives, because if you look at the testimony, it was nothing but get Trump. And these documents show that Comey, who was fired by the president, had easy and friendly access to the FBI almost immediately upon his firing. And, you know, this leads to the collusion that we're talking about. Not Russia collusion, but collusion between Comey, Mueller, and the FBI and Justice Department in their Get Trump effort. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, potentially, because we still don't have a lot of information I think we're due under these lawsuits. But it's remarkable, these series of emails, because they show that Comey and Mueller and the FBI and Justice Department were colluding on Comey's testimony. Now, did they know what he was going to say ahead of time? I would guess so. And you can bet that Comey wouldn't have said anything that would have hurt if he was told not to by Mueller or the Justice Department and FBI. So what I find is outrageous is that he was allowed to share privileged conversations with the president, and he was allowed to use memos that the FBI created. He was FBI director when he created those memos. Don't believe they were personal memos. And he was allowed to use those in his testimony as well. You know, and I've been around here in Washington a long time. I know I know, generally speaking, how these Senate and congressional appearances and House appearances go. Senior official like Comey doesn't say anything out of school, even if he was just fired. And the memos show, again, that the Department of Justice and the FBI and Mueller were treating Comey as if he was just retired honorably by the president as opposed to someone who'd been fired. And by Comey's own admission, he said he wasn't allowed back on the property. And you look at these emails, they're still calling him director. So I encourage you to go to our website at judicialwatch.org and look at the emails yourselves, draw your own conclusions, but I thought I'd describe them for you there.